enjoy it. But welcome to today's What You Now Know, and great to be here. You're gonna want to watch. You're gonna want to listen to this one. This is important. This might be one of the more important ones that we're taking on today today in a long time because of what I hope will do for many of you. So let us start, though. However, with the great pledge of allegiance, and if you'll join me, you'll see behind me there's a flag that's in our window here down in the grotto, we call it down here. And let's start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There you go, Macy Gray. Macy Gray doesn't like that, but we don't care. All right. I have to say, there's lots of things to talk about. It is so funny to watch Donald Trump still lead the country, at least in terms of the ongoing issue of certain things like the border. Donald Trump announced that he was going to the border, I think next week. He announced that he's going to go in a week or so. He said he's going to go, and a number of congressmen headed by Congressman something's going on there. Hopefully that comes back. Let's see. We got a little bit of trouble with the connection. Hopefully my home today. And so one of the things that you have to wonder when you see Kamala Harris, and I think Joe Biden may go down to the border, is what if we didn't have Trump? I mean, what if we didn't have Trump in America, right? I mean, what would it be like? What would the country be like? Some people probably say it'd be better, but it's hard to imagine. But that's not what I want to talk about. That's a big issue. Later today, I'm doing a TV interview about that, the border, the tragedy, the problem of the border. The bigger issue I want to talk about, and I want to encourage you, is you have to go to Twitter. I know Twitter annoys you. I know Twitter is unhelpful. You either have to go to Twitter and follow Julie Kelly there, or go to American Greatness, amgreatness.com, and get signed on there and pay attention. She's writing a couple times a week, but she's tweeting all day long. Yesterday, she sat through the online hearings for a couple of the prisoners being held for the January 6th hoax, and she's tweeting about it, and she's driving the agenda, so much so that yesterday I was up on Capitol Hill with a really good member of Congress, a good guy, and he said to me, I need to find out more of the details about January 6th. Can you get me in touch with Julie Kelly? So Julie Kelly is I don't know if she'd call herself a freelance journalist. She's an author. She's written a book in the last year or so on the Never Trumpers, and she's writing at American Greatness. But in this environment in America, she's now a thought leader. She's on Tucker's show a lot of times. She used to be on my show all the time. She's outgrown my little radio show. She also goes on everybody's show. Everybody has her on. And the reason why, for you people out there watching and wondering, is she does the work. She's a good writer. She's above average writer. I think she's probably a really good writer, but she does the work. She writes all the time, and she researches and she listens. And then she has what I used to say about the late Phyllis Schlafly. She just has wisdom. She can see the pieces fitting together. So you need to find that, because this January 6th hoax is being broadened. It's being used as a pretext to do lots of damage to this country. And it's not going to stop. For people to think, oh, well, we've shined a light on it. Tucker did a segment on it. It's not, they don't care. They're not stopping. In fact, they're ramping up even more than they ever were. So you've got to go find Julie Kelly. You've got to listen. You've got to watch what she says on Twitter, and she'll direct you. This is one of the great things about Twitter, too, is she'll direct you to the other people who are commenting either in the right way or lying about it and misleading us and falling for the hype. One of the great services she does is points out how people who are on the center right or the more conservative side are duped into the positions that the left and the mainstream fake news wants you to do. So it doesn't matter. Go and track this down. This is as big an issue. This is bigger than the Russia hoax. When we were in the middle of the Mueller investigation, and we were talking to people, and you had people like Devin Nunes and Kash Patel and others saying, yeah, you'll see when you get to the bottom of this, there's nothing here. They couldn't say what they knew because it was classified. They couldn't say all they knew. but we sort of felt like that trajectory would lead to somewhere, and it turns out it was a lie. The Mueller was embarrassing to see testify. But of course, there was, I don't know, 40 months of damage to the American psyche and to the American people. That was the plan. That's what they're doing right now. And the only way to beat the January 6th hoax is to keep bursting the narrative in as many ways as we can. Yesterday, Julie Kelly's piece shined a light. It's American Greatness, amgreatness.com, on another aspect of this. Many of the people who are arrested related to the January 6th hoax are in Washington, D.C. prisons, and they don't have the money to pay for big lawyers. They're not lucky enough to be General Flynn, who hired the best lawyer, Sidney Powell or Roger Stone lawyered up, or anybody. They're regular people. And if you're suddenly in a jail in Washington, D.C., and the lawyers cost $500 an hour, you do it. What do? Well, our system will appoint you a public defender. The public defenders are supposed to be on your side, defending you. And what you saw, and the one yesterday, there was a woman that pled guilty to trespassing, walking through the Capitol, but in the midst of her plea deal, she confessed to having all of her thoughts before January 6th were deeply flawed, and her public defender, who's a left-wing activist, lawyer, gave her books to read and gave her movies to watch to form her consciousness so that she could get herself updated on her education. Because I think she's from Indiana, and you can't trust someone from Indiana. You've got to bring them swamp. You got to really bring them a swamp reading list. And look, if you're about to go to prison, I think this woman could have been sentenced to prison, and she was scared. Of course, her public defender is saying you should be scared of going to prison. So you got a public defender, your lawyer, saying you're going to go to prison. Instead of your lawyer saying we're going to fight this to the end because this is nonsense, you got your lawyer saying you're going to go to prison. You probably would say or do anything to get out of going to prisons. Even I think she got probation. But when you listen to her and read what she wrote, it's like Julie Kelly said it: deprogramming. Again, you don't have to have a gulag, the division of the Soviet government that sent people off to camps. We're watching the gulag in operation. It's called the narrative machine. Big tech, which is silencing any voices that are against the narrative they want and making sure that you're marginalized. Big media, which is brainwashing half the country to believe the insanity that's going on or more. And then big government right in behind. You don't need a gulag. You don't need a gulag. We have it going on right now. And Julie Kelly, her essay on deprogramming we the people, deprogramming we the people. And last night I sent her an essay that I've talked about a lot on here called "The Power of the Powerless," and it's by Václav Havel, when he was an activist in the in the Czech Republic while it was occupied by the Soviet-occupied Czech Republic in the late 70s. And Havel, as I've told you a bunch of times, talks about the self-censorship, that at a certain point when you see what the environment of oppression demands, you adjust to it. Human beings adjust to what they're seeing so that they can avoid friction in their life. And that's what's happening. That's what they're trying to do with the deprogramming, with the narrative machine, and it's insidious. So the point of this is not to discuss that yet again. The point of this to you all is to say what you now know. You must read Julie Kelly every time she writes, and you should check in on her Twitter feed. And if you hate Twitter, I don't care. It's where action is happening. You ignore the other stuff and find the good people. Julie Kelly's one of them, at Julie_Kelly2. It's the strangest Twitter handle, but find it and go to American Greatness, which is amgreatness.com, and watch these stories. And again, she'll refer you to other ones. Lee Smith is writing over at the epictimes.com. He wrote something that was actually on the FBI's corruption. But there's lots of good voices, but you can go there and get connected. So that's my tip for today, and hope everybody gets ready to have a good weekend, and I will be back later. Thanks.